I love Legos. In case you didn't know, Legos are awesome. This is one Lego. This is your basic Lego brick. It's a 2x4 brick. You can take this Lego and you can make a ton of different really cool things. Here's a tub of Lego. You can see lost Lego. They're awesome. But if you gave me this tub of Legos, there's about nothing I can do with this. I mean, I can follow instructions really well, but I can't, like, I'm not a master builder. I can't take a whole bunch of random Legos and make something really cool out of it. Can't do it. Um, but there's probably people that can. Actually, there are. And let me show you some pictures. So I've gone to different places, like different comic conventions and whatever, and I've found like Lego booths and displays. I've seen some really cool Lego things. So this was at New York Comic Con in, I don't know, 2013 or 2012 or something. But this is a giant Lego Yoda made, and it was glowing and everything. I thought it was super cool. I wanted to take it, I wouldn't, but I wanted it. I like to take pictures of people showing, or like people standing next to these big Lego sculptures because it shows you scale. So you can kind of see like how these Ninja Turtles over here, how big they are compared to this random dude over here. And this is the backside. I don't even know how many Legos do you think it took to build these? Probably thousands. It probably took hours upon hours of stuff. But like, people can do that. People can take a whole bunch of Legos and just make something really cool and really crazy. Here's a giant size Superman. Well, I mean, it's not giant size. He's like the size of how Superman would be. But it's I should have taken video because you could get a better sense of how cool these things are in real life. A little Minecraft display. Iron Man, right? And dude walking in front of Iron Man and trying to get into my picture. I think he was trying to photobomb. He just wanted me to see him all the time. But this is super cool. Like, it glowed on the inside, and I mean, it's every little brick is placed perfectly. This is me in 2014. Me and Mr. Giggler here and Mr. Clee, we all went to Minnesota. We stopped by the Mall of America, and we found this giant Lego booth store inside. Big old saber-toothed cat, caveman fighting him. Here you can see normal-sized people down here, and this huge, gigantic minotaur right on top of the ceiling, fighting a Spartan, maybe. Big old dragon. And this thing was actually really cool because it kind of wound around the whole entire store. I tried to get Klee to lift me up and stick my head in there and take a picture, but security guards were like around and they had their eye on us shady Pennsylvania characters. Some giant Gundam thing machine. Look at these tiny little people. This was really cool. It was like a life-size helicopter, but life-size for these giant Lego people. Here's William Shakespeare, I think? No, Christopher Columbus. What am I thinking? Christopher Columbus. He's kind of pulling off a Shakespeare thing. Dude riding a horse. Oh, here's the dragon, right? Here's the sea dragon wrapping around. Here's little people down here, like real people. But this was awesome, like these SWAT team jumping out of this helicopter. It was really cool. Here's a display from a different angle. So it was actually really neat. I love it. I love going to places and seeing these different Lego creations. And then in 2015, in the summer, we went down to, I think it was the Franklin Institute. And the Franklin Institute had this display. It was called The Art of the Brick. And it was basically this one guy, just like one guy, who put together all these Lego creations. Here he redid the Mona Lisa, and here he did the Scream. So he took like real paintings and tried to remake them using only Legos, which is insane. I mean, like, the amount of detail that goes into this, really, really cool. In that same exhibit, they had all kinds of stuff. Here's like a woman swimming in water. So this is just like a pile of blue Legos surrounding the sculpture of Lego. It was really artistic, like everything he did. So this was pretty neat. This, I think it was called Hands. Oh yeah, look here, Hands. And you can see this Lego man, his hands are like melted off. But this is cool because, you know, like, he took something and he built something. Here's Jonah peeking through, and there's Mara back there. He built all these sculptures and all these creations not based on anything else. So before, whereas somebody could like look at a picture of Iron Man and try to build something that looks like a real thing, this guy went all out. He used thousands and thousands of Legos to make all these creations. And there were like neat little hidden things hidden throughout. So like at first glance you see these little musical notes, but then if you looked really close, I have another picture not on this PowerPoint, but if you looked really close, you could see these little faces in the musical notes, and they were kind of screaming or singing along. It was awesome. You could see this one was called Crowd, but it was a whole bunch of different people walking around in a crowd of people. But then if you looked at it from a different point of view, you could kind of see one giant eyeball. So it's kind of like people watching a crowd. Um, really artistic, like just thought differently. So here's a guy. This one was called Yellow, and this guy was like ripping his chest apart, and all these pieces coming out. Huge, gigantic Tyrannosaurus Rex skeleton made of Legos. And I really liked what they did with the lights back here. This was one of my favorite pieces. So this was like a photograph. They had these photographs on the wall, giant photographs on the wall. You're like, what's going on here? And you look really close, and you could see that she's wearing a Lego dress, and these Lego pieces were like flying off of her. So they had a whole bunch of different scenes and portraits like this. But then in the center here, you could see the actual dress. So this was the actual dress that that model wore, and all the pieces kind of flying off of her. And then they had more pictures and stuff that they took, and it was awesome. I mean, it was a really, really cool exhibit. But like, this always reminds me, um, I can't do that. Like, I can't do that. I'm not talented. Like, some people, they can take a massive bricks, just a whole big pile of bricks, and they can make the coolest things just off the top of their heads. And that is not something that I'm talented at. Uh, but I'm fascinated by these people. So, is there anybody in here? Is there anybody in here who can do that? So raise your hand right now. Raise your hand if you're the kind of person where you can take a bunch of Legos, like a pile of Legos like this, and you can make the coolest thing. No directions, no nothing. You are a master builder. Go ahead, raise your hand. Oh, wow. Wow, that's a lot of you. Oh, you too? No, not you. Oh, really? Oh, okay, yeah. I guess you're a master builder. I never would have suspected. But that's cool. I'm not that kind of a person. I think it takes a really neat kind of a person to do that. Um, I'm amazed by this. But what I find even more amazing is that Legos always remind me of something called the cell. So this is a human blood cell, and cells are these tiny, teeny, tiny little microscopic parts of your body. So let me find me. Where am I? Where am I? I'm lost. Photo booth. There I am. So anyway, inside your body, you're made up of these tiny little microscopic, so small that you can't even see it with your naked eye. But you're made of these little particles. You're made of trillions of them, trillions of tiny little cells, uh, and that's you. That's all you are. You're made of these tiny little things. And what's really neat is that once upon a time, um, about 9 months before you were born, you all started off as one cell. You were all microscopic. You were microscopic. I was microscopic. That's crazy to me. I was one microscopic little cell inside of my mom. And then I grew. And then I became two cells, and I became four, and I became 8 and 16 or whatever. But what was really cool is these cells, they weren't talking to each other. Like a cell doesn't have a mouth, it doesn't have a brain, it doesn't have ears. They can't communicate with each other. But yet, your cells know exactly what to do. Like so, inside of your mom, your cells kind of fuse and they combine together, and then eventually they start to form into tissues, and those tissues formed into organs and body parts. And you, after a few weeks, you were like this tiny, tiny little person. You were like this big, and you were growing, and you had a little heart, and your heart was beating, and it's these cells, they just microscopic little things without brains, without mouths to talk to each other. They know exactly what they need to do, and they came and formed you. And here you are, and you're a person, and right, and you can breathe, and you can move your arm, you can think. Like you have memory. Like you have all you're made of are these tiny little microscopic things, but you have memory, and you can retain thought, and you can dream. And I don't know. I think as much as I love Legos, I think cells are like the most fascinating thing in the entire world, the entire universe. I mean, life. For us to be alive and to think that we're just these tiny little bricks. Yeah, that's all we are. We're cells. We're bricks. We're building blocks that just kind of stack and they build together and they can make something cool, cooler than any sculpture that I just showed you. They made you. They made me. They made us. Like, much cooler than Legos. You have trillions of them. You might not have any Legos at home, but you have trillions of cells, and that's what you're made of. And they're the coolest thing in the world. How do I stop this thing? I don't even know how to stop. I want to stop. I want to have this like cool dramatic little exit, but yeah, I can't figure out how to just. Oh, here it is. All right. Peace.